COVID-19 has brought the entire world to a near standstill. Spreading rapidly and claiming hundreds of thousands of lives, it is the global pandemic of our times. But nearly a century ago, the world had experienced another devastating pandemic, perhaps the deadliest in recent history. It is estimated that the Spanish flu of 1918 claimed 50 to 100 million lives, but contrary to what the name would lead you to believe, the actual focal point of the pandemic was India, where the estimated death toll was anywhere from 10 to 20 million, which was between a fifth to a half of the entire death toll across the globe. Welcome to a new episode of Infographics, and today we are going to talk about the 1918 pandemic that played a vital role in altering the course of India's history. Caused by a member of the H1N1 family of viruses, the Spanish flu first appeared in January 1918 during the final year of World War I and lasted till December 1920, infecting nearly 500 million worldwide, which was about a third of the population at the time. There are many theories, but no clear consensus on where this particular strain of virus came from. Most experts believe it originated in Europe, United States, and parts of Asia. Regardless of where it started though, it spread to nearly every corner of the globe within a matter of months. The first wave of the disease emerged in early months of 1918 and was generally mild. In the autumn of that year though, a second and more severe wave of the disease swept across the globe, leaving no major inhabited region untouched. Victims in the second wave would usually die within hours or days of developing symptoms. One of the primary reasons for its unabated spread was that it happened during World War I, a world war in which nearly every nation participated in some capacity. Troop movements were all across the globe, and wherever they went, they took the disease with them. Just in the months of March and April of 1918, nearly 200,000 American soldiers headed across the Atlantic. An unusual aspect of the 1918 flu was that it seemed to affect young, healthy people between the ages of 20 and 40 the most, and majority of the soldiers that fought in the war fell in that age bracket. The disease initially spread due to the close proximity conditions in trench warfare. Infections were noticed across military camps, but countries in the middle of the war, like Britain, Germany, France, and the US, kept it a secret in the beginning, so that it doesn't affect troop morale. Interestingly, the pandemic got named the Spanish flu not because it started there, but because Spain was a neutral country during World War I, due to which the Spanish media was not subject to wartime news censorship and were able to report freely about the ravages of the illness. So when the disease became a pandemic, it seemed to have emerged in Spain, and hence the name stuck. India participated in the war effort from the British side and unwittingly became the center of the global pandemic. Referred to as the Bombay Influenza or the Bombay fever, the flu arrived in India via the ports of Bombay in May of 1918. A ship carrying Indian troops reached the shores of Bombay on the 29th of May and remained anchored there for about 48 hours. The war was in its last phase, so the ports were usually busy with the movements of troops and goods back and forth from England. However, the city was not prepared for the unwanted cargo that had come aboard the ship: lethal strains of the H1N1 virus right from the battlefields. 7 police sepoys at the Bombay docks were among the first to be admitted to the police hospital with a non-malaria-like fever. Soon after, employees of a shipping firm, the Bombay Port Trust, the Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank, the Telegraph Office, the Mint, and the Rachel Sassoon Mills also fell ill. Conditions in Bombay started deteriorating rapidly, while railway lines carried the virus to different corners of the country. The speed and extent of the fatalities were overwhelming. In one day alone, on the 6th of October 1918, there were 768 deaths in Bombay city, more than at the height of the plague epidemic in the 1890s and 1900s. The pandemic progressed across the country in a wave-like pattern, quickly engulfing the entire nation. For a variety of reasons, the second wave that hit in September 1918 proved particularly fatal for India. The death rate peaked in the last week of September in Bombay, in the middle of October in Madras, and in the middle of November in Calcutta. The death rate in Bombay Presidency was extremely high at nearly 54.9 people per thousand residents. While the mortality rate for the epidemic stood at 4.7 per 1,000 people in Britain, India's mortality rate stood at 20.6 per 1,000 people. The country's poor healthcare infrastructure had a key role to play in creating the disparity. But the arrival of the flu also coincided with a drought in 1918, which led to a famine in large parts of the country. Since hunger weakens the immune system of the body, it made large segments of the population vulnerable to the virus. And the colonizers didn't help matters either. Despite the famine and the pandemic, Indian-grown food continued to supply the war efforts on the British front lines. When the pandemic struck India, it became very clear that the British had ignored the healthcare in the country. The medical infrastructure was in shambles. According to a letter written by renowned Hindi poet Nirala, the ghats along the river Ganga ran out of wood as the bodies piled up. Prominent citizens from Mahatma Gandhi to writer Munshi Premchand had also been infected but were able to recover. That vacuum during a medical emergency brought Indians together to fight the deadly disease. The death and misery produced by the pandemic fueled the anger against the British, and the people unwaveringly gave their support to Gandhi and the independence struggle. The pandemic left a devastating impact on the economy as well. In the last 120 years of recorded economic history in India, 1918 was the worst. Growth in real gross domestic product was the lowest at minus 10.5%, while inflation was at an all-time high, adding to the already miserable situation. The eventual decline of the pandemic could have been for a couple of reasons. One being the natural rapid evolution of the strain itself, which could have modified into a less potent strain. The second reason is the weather. Madras experienced an abnormally wet winter monsoon in November of 1918, which may have stopped the pandemic. Calcutta, which had a wetter and longer summer monsoon than Bombay, may have been spared the intensity of the pandemic because of higher humidity. India has progressed a lot since the ship carrying the deadly virus docked on the shores of Bombay a century ago. But as another virus wreaks havoc across the globe in 2020, India should learn from 1918 and not let history repeat itself. Practicing social distancing and prioritizing personal hygiene are just some of the ways we can help flatten the curve. Please like, comment and share with your friends and family. Stay safe, stay indoors, and play your part in stopping the spread of this pandemic.